Emily Carter felt the shift before she ever admitted it. Something quiet had taken over her marriage, slowly and silently. The way a cloudy day replaces sunshine without anyone noticing the moment it happens. She and her husband, Daniel, still lived their lives as if everything were fine. They made coffee, went to work, and asked about each other's day, but underneath their routines lived a growing emptiness she pretended not to see. She loved him deeply, but the warmth that once made their home feel alive felt dimmer than before. And though neither of them said anything, both could feel the distance rising like a soft wall between them. With Daniel's 40th birthday only 2 weeks away, Emily felt a pressure she couldn't shake. She wanted it to be special, not because he expected anything, but because she needed something meaningful to bring them back together. She remembered how Daniel used to surprise her for no reason flowers on Thursdays. Handwritten notes in her lunch bag, small gestures that once made them laugh. But life had changed. Work exhausted them. Responsibilities piled up. Conversations became short, careful, and practical. And the hardest part was knowing that nothing bad had happened. They just drifted without noticing. Emily spent nights thinking about what she could do. Gifts felt too shallow. A dinner out felt too predictable. She needed something that carried emotion, something that might make Daniel remember their closeness, maybe even open up about the distance she felt. But every plan she imagined fell apart because she didn't know where to start. It was frightening to realize she could organize 1,000 things for work, yet had no idea how to fix what mattered most: her marriage. One evening in their Seattle home, after Daniel fell asleep early, Emily sat alone in the living room, staring at the quiet space around her. She remembered how they used to sit on this same couch and talk about the future, how excited they once were about building a life together. Now, the silence felt heavier. She opened her laptop, unsure what she was searching for. Maybe inspiration? Maybe help? Maybe reassurance that other couples felt the same. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long time before she finally typed. Personal birthday ideas for husband, emotional. Hundreds of results appeared. Most were simple tips: buy a watch, plan a trip, cook a meal. None of them touched the place in her heart that hurt the most. But then she found something unexpected. A website for a woman named Claire Donovan, a professional event planner who specialized not in large parties or corporate events, but in intimate, emotional celebrations. The website didn't show flashy photos or grand decorations. Instead, it talked about creating meaningful experiences through memories, storytelling, and personal connection. It felt different, gentle, sincere, almost comforting. Emily clicked through the site, reading testimonials from couples who said Claire helped them reconnect, celebrate milestones, and express feelings they struggled to put into words. Something about it drew her in. She wasn't looking for decoration, she was looking for guidance. Someone who understood that emotions were messy and real. Someone who could help her create something from the heart. But hiring someone felt strange. She worried it might make her look desperate or dramatic. She imagined Daniel discovering she hired help and thinking she couldn't do something simple on her own. But the ache inside her grew stronger than her embarrassment. She needed someone who understood emotions the way an artist understands. Colors, someone who could help her tell a story she didn't know how to tell anymore. Before she could change her mind, she filled out the contact form and wrote a short message. I want to create something meaningful for my husband's birthday. Something emotional, something personal. I don't know where to start. She hesitated only a moment before pressing send. 20 minutes later, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Hi, Emily. This is Claire. I received your message. Can we talk? Emily's heart jumped. She wondered if calling this late was appropriate, but Claire's warm tone made her feel safe, not judged. They spoke for the first time in the quiet living room. The faint hum of the refrigerator, the only background noise. Claire didn't ask for details right away. Instead, she asked simple human questions. How long have you been married? What makes Daniel smile? What moments do you miss the most? As Emily answered, she felt herself growing emotional, not from sadness, but from being understood. Claire didn't interrupt. She didn't offer quick solutions. She listened in a way that reminded Emily of the early days with Daniel, when they talked late into the night without fear of saying the wrong thing. But then Claire asked a question that felt too honest. To direct Emily, are you planning a birthday? Or trying to save something that's slipping away? The words hit harder than Emily expected. She swallowed, unsure how to respond. She wasn't trying to save the marriage exactly, it wasn't broken. But something was missing, something small yet important. She realized then that she didn't just want Daniel to have a good birthday. She wanted them to feel close again. Emily didn't answer directly. She simply said, I want him to feel loved. I want him to feel seen again. Claire responded with a steady, gentle tone. Then we'll make something meaningful. Something honest. They agreed to meet the next day at a small cafe near the waterfront. When Emily hung up, she felt a mixture of relief and fear. Relief because someone finally understood what she couldn't explain. Fear because she wasn't sure if this plan would heal the distance or reveal it even more clearly. That night, Daniel came downstairs for water and found Emily still awake. You okay? He asked softly. She nodded with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Just couldn't sleep. He kissed her forehead, a gesture that used to feel warm and comforting but now felt distant, like a habit instead of a feeling. She wished she had the courage to tell him everything right there, but she didn't want to ruin his birthday with heavy conversations. She wanted the celebration to be the bridge that carried them back to each other. When Daniel went back upstairs, Emily stared at her phone and read Claire's message again. We will create something honest. For the first time in months, she felt a small spark of hope. Not a dramatic one. Not a fireworks in the sky kind of hope. Just a quiet light inside her chest. A beginning. A chance she didn't know what tomorrow would bring, or whether Claire's help would make a difference, but she knew she couldn't stay silent anymore. She was tired of pretending everything was fine. She was tired of losing pieces of the love she fought so hard to build. The next afternoon, Emily met Claire Donovan at a small cafe overlooking the harbor. The sky was clear and the soft sun reflected off the water, making everything feel calm, almost like a promise. Emily's nerves buzzed. She wasn't sure what to expect. She knew she needed help. But she didn't realize how vulnerable she would feel sitting across from someone she had just met. Claire smiled warmly when Emily approached. There was something calming in her presence, a quiet confidence that made Emily feel safe to speak her heart. They ordered coffee, and Claire didn't jump into questions about flowers, music, or table settings. Instead, she asked Emily to tell her about Daniel. He's complicated, Emily started, hesitating. Not in a bad way. He's thoughtful, funny, smart. But lately, he's distant. I don't know if it's work or just us. I feel like I'm losing him, even though he's right here. Claire nodded, not interrupting. Tell me about the Daniel you love, she said softly. Emily felt a lump in her throat as she spoke. She told Claire about the Daniel she remembered from their early years, the one who cooked breakfast on Sundays, who stayed up late playing guitar, who would make her laugh until her cheeks hurt. She talked about the quiet moments they shared, the trips they took, the little traditions that made them them. Claire listened with a gentle attentiveness that surprised Emily. It wasn't just politeness. It was understanding. She wrote notes not about logistics or checklists, but about feelings, emotions, and memories. He misses those moments, Emily, Claire said quietly. Sometimes people drift, not because they stop caring, but because life gets too loud. We forget how to see each other. Emily nodded, tears welling up. She realized that no one had listened to her like this in months. Even Daniel, distracted by stress and routines, hadn't asked her to talk about her feelings. And yet here was a stranger who seemed to know exactly what she needed to be heard, to be understood, to feel hope again, together. They started planning Daniel's birthday. It wasn't about grandeur or extravagance. Claire suggested something intimate, a private dinner on a small rooftop with soft lights, music that reminded them of their early years, photos of memories displayed around the space, and a short letter Emily could read to Daniel. Simple, personal, meaningful, As they worked on the details, Emily felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. She worried that Daniel might not respond the way she hoped. She worried that maybe the distance between them was too big to close with one evening. But Claire reminded her that the point wasn't perfection. It was connection. "It's not about making everything perfect," she said. "It's about making him feel seen, loved, remembered." Emily found herself sharing things with Claire she hadn't said aloud to anyone, even Daniel. She admitted the fear that their love was fading, the guilt for feeling lonely in her own marriage, and the worry that she might be doing this all wrong. Claire never judged her, never offered quick-fix solutions. Instead, she validated Emily's feelings and gave her practical advice on how to express them to Daniel in a gentle, heartfelt way. "There's a difference between grand gestures and meaningful gestures," Claire explained. "A simple moment can carry more emotion than 1,000 expensive gifts. Focus on honesty, on memory, on emotion. That's what makes people feel connected." Emily nodded, feeling more confident. She realized she had been overthinking everything. It wasn't about impressing Daniel. It was about reminding him and herself why they fell in love in the first place. As the day of Daniel's birthday approached, Emily and Claire rehearsed the plan. They went over the timing, the sequence of events, and the little touches that would make the evening special. The candles, the playlist, the letters, the way the photos were arranged. Emily felt herself becoming more invested, not just in the evening, but in the possibility of reigniting something in her marriage that had seemed lost. But working closely with Claire also brought unexpected feelings. Emily realized she felt a deep sense of comfort and safety around Claire, an understanding she hadn't realized she missed. It wasn't romantic, it was something else. It was reassurance, clarity, and the feeling of being genuinely understood. Claire helped Emily see that love wasn't gone. It was just buried under routines, responsibilities, unspoken fears. On the evening before Daniel's birthday, Claire asked Emily a question that made her pause. "Emily, sometimes the person we're afraid of losing is waiting for us to reach for them. Are you ready for whatever tomorrow brings?" Emily swallowed. She had thought about the evening endlessly, imagining Daniel's reactions, trying to anticipate every moment. But Claire's words reminded her that she couldn't control the outcome. The evening might go perfectly, or it might reveal cracks she hadn't anticipated, and that was frightening. "Yes," Emily said after a long pause, even though her heart raced. She didn't know if she truly felt ready, but she knew she had to try. Trying was the only way to see if the connection they once had could be restored. As Emily left the cafe that day, she felt a mix of hope and nervous anticipation. The city streets were alive with the evening rush, but inside her, everything was quiet and focused. Tomorrow wasn't just Daniel's birthday. It was a chance for them to face the distance in their marriage. It was a chance to speak what had been unsaid for months. It was a chance to see if the love they had shared could be remembered, felt, and celebrated again. That night, Emily went home and sat quietly in their living room. Daniel was busy catching up on emails, oblivious to the storm of emotion Emily carried. She watched him for a moment, noticing the small details. She loved the way his hair fell across his forehead, the curve of his smile when he was focused. She felt a pang of longing, a mix of sadness and hope. She thought about the evening they had planned and the role she would play in it. She realized that the effort wasn't just about Daniel. It was about Emily, too. She needed to remind herself that love wasn't just something you felt when things were easy. Love was also about effort, courage, and vulnerability. Emily picked up her phone and reread Claire's last message. "We'll create something honest, something meaningful. Trust the process." For the first time in months, Emily allowed herself to feel a quiet excitement. Not a dramatic thrill, but a soft, steady hope that tomorrow could be different, that they could reconnect, speak the words they had withheld, and remember the reasons they fell in love. She went to bed early, exhausted but restless. Sleep came slowly, tangled with anticipation, nerves, and longing. In the quiet of the night, she imagined Daniel reading her letter, seeing the photos, feeling remembered. She imagined him smiling, laughing, maybe even shedding a quiet tear. and she imagined the moment when they would finally look at each other without the walls. Without the silence, just to people remembering how it felt to be close again. As she drifted off to sleep, Emily realized that part 2 wasn't about the birthday alone. It was about preparation not only of the evening, but of herself. She had to be brave, honest, and open. She had to trust that Daniel could meet her halfway. And she had to trust that love wasn't lost, just waiting for them to find it again. Tomorrow would come. And with it, the chance to feel what they had both been missing. And for the first time in a long while, Emily felt ready to take that step the morning of Daniel's birthday. Emily woke with a mix of excitement and nerves. She could hardly eat breakfast, her mind replaying every detail of the evening they had planned with Claire. The rooftop dinner, the photos, the music, the letter. It all seemed so close, yet so fragile. What if Daniel didn't feel what she hoped? What if the gap between them was too big to bridge with one night? The thought made her stomach tighten, but she pushed it aside. She had to try. The afternoon passed slowly. Emily rehearsed quietly at home, reading her letter aloud in front of the mirror. She adjusted a few words, wanting them to feel natural, honest, and soft. She wanted Daniel to hear not just the words, but the emotions behind them. By early evening, Claire arrived to help with final preparations. Together, they carried the photos, lit the candles, and arranged the small details that would make the night special. Claire's presence was calm and reassuring. Emily realized again how much support she had felt from her. Not because Claire was doing the work, but because she had helped Emily find her own courage. The small rooftop space had been transformed into a cozy, intimate haven. Candles flickered gently, casting a warm glow over photos from their early years' vacations. Messy selfies, quiet moments at home. Soft music played in the background, familiar tunes that carried their shared memories. When Daniel returned from work, Emily's heart raced. She had been nervous all day, but now, seeing him standing in the doorway, she felt her emotions flood in fully. Daniel paused as he stepped into the rooftop, his eyes widening at the scene. "Emily, you did all this?" he asked, his voice soft and filled with surprise. "I had a little help," Emily admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "But it's everything I feel. Everything I've been afraid to say." Daniel looked around at the photos, the candles, the gentle lights, and the familiar music. He was quiet for a moment, almost overwhelmed. Then, as if the weight of months of silence lifted, he smiled a small, genuine smile that Emily hadn't seen in weeks. They sat down to dinner, and Emily noticed Daniel's eyes keep drifting to the photos and decorations. He was seeing their past together, the memories they had almost forgotten, and it softened his expression. Emily felt a wave of hope. This was working. The atmosphere was quiet, intimate, but filled with emotion. No words were needed yet. Finally, Emily took a deep breath and read her letter. She spoke honestly, without exaggeration, without hesitation. She talked about the moments she missed, the fear she felt when they drifted apart, and the love she still carried for him. She admitted that she worried he might not feel the same way, but that she needed him to know how much he mattered to her. She spoke from the heart, letting the words carry the feelings she couldn't always say aloud. Daniel listened carefully. His fingers brushed hers across the table once, lightly, almost like a tentative reassurance. Emily saw his eyes soften as the words sank in. There were tears, but subtle, gentle, quiet ones, the kind that spoke of relief and recognition rather than sadness. He hadn't expected this level of honesty and thoughtfulness, and it touched him deeply. When she finished reading, there was a long, silent pause. Then Daniel reached across the table, taking her hand in his. The warmth of his touch reminded Emily of all the moments she loved about him, the comfort, the security, the love that didn't need to be loud to be real. "I thought I was losing you," Daniel admitted, his voice low. "I didn't know how to say it. I've been so caught up with work and life, I forgot to see us, to see you." Emily's chest swelled with relief and emotion. She realized that all the fear, all the planning, all the uncertainty had led to this moment-to-moment of honesty, vulnerability, and reconnection. She squeezed his hand, and for the first time in months she felt that quiet, steady warmth between them. They spent the evening reminiscing, laughing softly, and sharing memories. The conversation flowed naturally, not forced, not awkward. The music played, the candles flickered, and Emily noticed Daniel looking at her with an attention and tenderness she hadn't felt in a long time. It wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It was about being present, being seen, and being loved after dinner. Daniel pulled Emily close on the small rooftop balcony. They watched the city lights, quiet and peaceful, sharing a moment of comfort and understanding. "This is the best birthday I've had in years," he said softly. "Thank you for not giving up on us." Emily felt tears prick her eyes, but they were tears of joy. She had been afraid, uncertain, and overwhelmed. But the evening had reminded them both of what truly mattered: honesty, love, and the willingness to reach out even when it felt difficult. As they packed up to leave, Emily noticed Claire quietly collecting her things in the corner. Their eyes met, and Claire smiled a soft, knowing smile, almost like a gentle nod of encouragement. Emily mouthed a silent thank you, and Claire nodded once before disappearing down the stairwell. Her work was done, but the effect lingered.